All right, everybody, good morning. Let's try this again here as we are live at just before noon now. As I learned from working in TV for these years, from the engineers that do a wonderful job of keeping us on TV, sometimes all you got to do is just restart the computer. So it looks like, from what I'm seeing on my own phone over here and an iPad, that the stream is coming through much better. So hopefully you guys can hear me. Give me a thumbs up. If you can in the comment section, let me know where you're watching from right now. Let's talk about this because we've got a high interest but low impact storm system on the way for tomorrow. I think the roads are going to be fine, but we could have a quick snow across the area tomorrow morning as you're heading out to church. It'll cause some excitement, right? But I don't think it's going to cause big impacts. Is there potential for this to grow into a bigger system and give some impacts? Yes, but I think the greater chance for that is over Charlotte to Concord through the Midlands, Rock Hill included in that would have a better chance at this becoming more of a higher performing system. Now, not to say we won't see snow in the Western Carolinas. I think we will. And folks, trust me when I tell you, if you've been frustrated by the flip and flops of the forecast this week, think about a meteorologist. So much, in fact, that the National Hurricane Center recon planes are flying around in this system. That's not unusual for winter storms. They'll do that to sample the atmosphere, but they did that in an effort to probably get some different solutions, to get some congruency in the models because they have been so all over the place. And I want to show you why, because in the upper parts of the atmosphere, which tab do I have it on? It's right here. In the upper parts of the atmosphere, we're relying on a dip in the jet stream that's thousands of feet above our head. And what's happened all week, the models have tried to time out this dip over Alabama and Mississippi. Where does it form, and is it positively tilted or negatively tilted? I know I'm talking a lot of inside baseball for the weather, but I want to give you perspective on the fact that that little tiny change means the difference in a whole state getting absolutely no flake at all and getting some showers that would cause some excitement for the kiddos, or the fact that you might get some meaningful impacts to get some roads to be slick. And right now, if there's going to be that, I think it's running out of moisture in the Western Carolinas. It's too warm at the coast, so that would probably fall somewhere in the middle from Charlotte to Columbia if you're going to get an overperformance out of this. But this is not the big one. The models did show a big one earlier on. They've trended toward how quick it is some snow. And in this video, I'll show you the timing, the totals, and kind of answer your questions since we are live. So please share with your family and friends, and let's kind of get this conversation going. So trust me when I know that we're talking about the potential of this being just kind of a novelty event. Instagram, Facebook, that kind of thing. Now, there are winter weather advisories that have been posted down toward Georgia. That's where we could have some totals as well. So let's get right to the update. Here's the very latest high-resolution model run. This takes us through today. We had a quick hit of some snow in Bryson City, Western North Carolina this morning. That has since moved out. We have a pretty extensive cloud cover today, and I'll be watching temperatures a little more closely. Do we get to 50 or do we get to 40? Because that's important tonight, because we've got a lot of cooling down we got to do if we want any kind of snow in here tomorrow morning. Nonetheless, here comes that next stream of moisture. Again, the hurricane hunters started flying in this yesterday, and our first suite of models that had that data ingested last night at 00Z shifted this 40, 50 miles north and west. That happened around midnight last night, and that's been kind of the change today, is that there's going to be cold air catching up to moisture. And folks, that's never a good bet when you want a big snow. But could it be enough to transition this over at 8 o'clock shown here on this radar, or 9 o'clock right here, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock through noon? Yes, I think there is the chance that this changes over to some snow in many areas of the Western Carolinas, but especially the Piedmont down toward Columbia. Now, the farther north and west you are on this model, the more you get kind of robbed, so to speak. So yes, I've seen comments from you folks in northern Oconee County, northern Pickens County, northeast Georgia, North Georgia in general. I think you're right on the periphery of this, and that's going to have to be watched. Now, the 6Z NAM model, same story, kind of in here right like that, shows a quick hit of some snow, and then the moisture's out of here. So all in all, probably an hour, 2 hours of some snow if you do get it, and then it's out. Okay, so this is not going to have the potential to give us a whole big impact here. But here's the new GFS, just to kind of give you perspective, not cherry picking one model, giving you a overall outlook of this. And that's what I always try to do, folks, to give you kind of a wholesale look at what's going on. And here we are going into Sunday morning. You've got some snow coming in here. Again, the heaviest, I still think, is over Augusta, Columbia, maybe Charlotte East, right along the I-77 corridor. I think the immediate coast is probably too warm to get meaningful snow other than maybe seeing it flying around. But again, there's going to be somebody that kind of wins in this. And I think the chances of that could be for the Triad, maybe Raleigh. You go down toward Columbia or Charlotte. I think somewhere in there, as the energy shifts in this system in the upper parts of the atmosphere, you get this thing called a deformation band or deformation zone. And that's impossible to predict exactly where it's going to be. But, if history teaches us anything, and it does, we know that it can form in this area somewhere in the middle. So, hey, is this going to be something that shuts everything down? I don't think so. But what I do think is it could be enough to cause some excitement tomorrow morning on your way to church. All right, so here we are. Let's look at the new European model. Again, it's come in here with showing some activity around that time frame first thing in the morning as it would come in. Where'd it go? Here it is. Quick hit right in there with some snow. So all the models here today have trended with, and if we're looking for specifics, what happened here in the upper parts of the atmosphere, this vorticity piece of energy, diving down a little farther south and being not quite as positive when it crosses over Georgia and the Carolinas. That little bit of a tilt or a pivot, so to speak, it's a favorite buzzword online, is for it to kind of pivot right over our area, and that would allow it to squeeze out just a little bit more moisture. So just about every single run on our European model shows snow, but if you look at the totals, they're tiny. This is for GSP, for Greer. The average of all of the different European model runs shows a 1/2 inch across Greer. Okay, so again, the ground could be coated. We could see enough to take a picture. The kids are out there bundled up and loving it, right? But the roads are probably just wet. Okay, that's probably going to be the extent of the impacts, other than it being really kind of cool for everybody to see. Every single run of the GFS shows it as well, but they're tiny. We're talking a dusting to a 1/2 inch at best. So again, we have good agreement that snow will fall. We just don't have good agreement that it's going to be a lot. Now, if you want some excitement, and I will talk about this toward the end of the video, we are highlighting last few days of the month. The models do show a higher impact cold blast coming in, and the numbers on that, instead of 0.2 of an inch, are 2 inches, 3 inches. Same thing on the European run. Where did it go? GFS one, here it is. Same thing on the GFS. You got 15 inches. That's crazy. That won't happen. But 5.5, 6.5 inches. So the models have hinted at this secondary system here, 28th, 29th, being something to watch. And we'll put that on our radar and keep you posted along the way as that one. Hopefully our models have hopefully that's a more dramatic system that isn't relying on little nuances in the upper parts of the atmosphere. They all do to some extent, but that one will be one to watch. And I'll tease that one here in just a few minutes with a preview. All right, so let's get a little bit closer and talk impacts. Here we are going into, everybody wants to know timing. What time should we wake up? Is this a 4 a.m. thing? I don't think so. Well, what's going to happen around midnight tonight as rain moves in? We only have a certain amount of rain to be had here. In fact, here's total precipitation. This is not snow. This is liquid, okay? So total amount of liquid available, 1/4 inch across GSP. So there's not a lot of moisture to be worked with here. But if you look at the trends, here's yesterday's model. We had 3 100ths, and then it trended north 1/10. Trended north even more, 2/10. So we've doubled it almost every single run that's come in, to the fact that this is pretty interesting. You've got 1 inch or so of available moisture from Columbia to just outside of Charlotte Metro. So there's more moisture to play with here than in the Western Carolinas. And we are going to waste precipitation available to evaporation because the air is still very dry. So a lot of this at midnight, 1 a.m. is going to be wasted, so to speak, on evaporation, on saturating the atmosphere. And once it does, I think by 4 a.m., we have a fully saturated atmosphere. We're getting some rain showers, but you see the bright banding here on this model. That's probably wet snow mixing in over Greenville. You see Caesars Head, North Greenville, Taylors, Northern Pickens, Northern Oconee County getting in on some quick snow. That'd be 4 a.m. Here we are at 5 a.m., Northern Greenville County, Northern Spartanburg County getting in on some snow. And then here it is spreading in at 6 a.m. You've got Lawrence County, Greenville County, Spartanburg County in on some light snow, mixing in Anderson County. But at that point, guys, we're running out of moisture. Moisture's running away. Cold air's rushing in. Never good if you want to see what's happening exactly for a big snow. But here we are, Athens, Georgia, now getting in on some action. Now it's the I-85 corridor south. This is 8 a.m. Here's 9 a.m. Here's 10 a.m. Here's 11 a.m., a little quick burst. And that's as the energy is kind of pivoting, okay? So you see it pivoting almost. It's kind of like it's almost pivoting right over us. And that's the big difference here. And that's the small scale scope of this thing, folks, is that we're depending on a piece of energy thousands of feet above our head. Where's it exactly going to pivot on Sunday at 8 a.m.? Okay, so that's why the models have not done well at this, and trying to communicate that to the greater public has been a challenge this week. So I appreciate your support. Of course, snow brings out high emotion in everyone. Everybody gets so excited about it. It triggers childhood memories, and there's never a forecast that involves so much volatility and I'd say so many emotions. Even severe weather to a degree can be a little more definitive than snow. So trust me when I say I wish I had more answers at times. That's why I always try to communicate, hey, our confidence is low at this point. And when it grows, I tell you, but it never really grew in this system, unfortunately. As meteorologists, we like to have mathematical equations and solutions and answers. And a lot of times we just don't have those answers, but we try to give it our best shot. So hopefully you've been able to manage that with our team this week as we have kept you posted. But the Triad, Charlotte, I think there's the potential for this moisture that's available to fall more as snow due to the way you're situated up. Now, you are racing against a warming atmosphere during the day, so there is that. So here's totals, early totals from the NAM model. Now, you have to think this is if every snowflake landed perfectly on a cold ground and then accumulated up, okay? That's not going to happen. That's impossible to say. So this is a raw model output untouched by me. So we know that it won't all fall and accumulate as said. However, even if you cut this in half, even if you cut it by 2/3, we still get measurable snow on the ground in many upstate communities. A little quick hit in the mountains as well. So again, it shows 1.4 inches in Greer. That would break our 1-inch snow drought that we've had since 2022. However, I know as well as you do that not all that's going to fall is that. So cut it in half. You get 7/10. That's still the ground coated. Now the roads are probably just wet. We're probably not going to have road problems. Not only have they been treating the roads, but they also are warm. So we shouldn't be able to overcome with high enough snowfall rates to overcome that. But look at the totals towards Charlotte, 2.5, 3 inches. Is that going to happen? No. But if you cut it in half, you get over an inch. So that's why I think there's the potential there. And probably equal potential of you to get 1 to 2 inches in Charlotte as getting a dusting to a half an inch. Probably about a 40 to 50% chance of each of those. I don't think you're just going to completely get wiped out and not see anything. I also don't think you're going to get just clobbered. Now, again, there's going to be an area here, and again, I think it's going to happen some here in northern parts of Columbia. Even down here in Georgia, where that pivot happens and you get a deformation band. It's a little piece of more intense energy that wrings out more moisture. And if that happens, I think South Georgia to the Midlands to maybe Charlotte Metro up through the Piedmont could be an area that gets kind of a more intense band, and therefore your totals do exceed. So that's why you see that model picking up on that potential with 3.9, 2.5, 2.9, 3-ish right here for the Triad over through Raleigh and Durham, Chapel Hill. Certainly not out of the question, even if you cut that in half to be closer to 2 inches instead of 1. So same story down here towards South Georgia. Could we see 1 to 2 inches? It is possible, but I don't think this is going to be a big impact for you. Again, we're relying on big dips in the jet stream right here. All right, so let's look closer at what the other models show. Here's the GFS model. It shows a swath here. Same story. 2 to 4 here toward the Triad, 1 to 2 in Charlotte, a half an inch to an inch in Greenville, Columbia, 1 to 3 inches. Again, that's assuming every snowflake falls perfectly and lands nicely and plays nice. No, that's not going to happen. We'll probably end up with a half or even a third of that actually falling as snow and maybe half of that actually landing and accumulating. So you cut it in half and then cut it in half again, okay? Because this is going to be rain and then it's going to melt as it falls. So if you cut Charlotte in half, 2 goes to 1. You cut 1 in half, it goes to a half an inch, okay? I know that's harsh, but it's probably the reality. Same story for Greenville and Greer. You cut your half an inch in half, it's a quarter of an inch. You cut that in half, it's a dusting, okay? So keep your expectations in line there. All right, how about European model? Switching that over. Again, it's got a quick dusting, snow's flying around, but at this point, this isn't the best model to look at in the fact that it's a lower resolution model. In fact, we would rely more heavily on the blend of them all, as well as some of these higher resolution models. In fact, the HRR is showing zero snow from its model, but it does show rain coming in. So, the fact that the HRR is climbing up with some snow, and it does show measurable snow in South Carolina, it just has the majority of it here across the lowlands here from basic I-95 corridor inland in Georgia. So the HRR is trying. I would put a little more stock in the NAM 3K than I would the HRRR at this point. So those of you asking, and yes, I've seen it, models indicate we kind of steady out this upcoming week toward the end of it, 22nd, 23rd, 24th. And then next weekend, we're kind of in a regrouping phase. The atmosphere is kind of reloading toward the north. And look at what's going on toward the west. This has been pretty consistent in the models. Showcasing the fact that we have a big piece of energy diving down. And wowzer, if that happens by the end of the month, the 27th, 28th, 29th, I know we're out there, and I know we're fatigued from what we're tracking right now. But if this happens, there are signals here that winter is by far nowhere near done with us. And this would equate to, okay, cold air is definitely there, and do we get a storm? And the models have shown that at times. Here's the temperature anomalies. Yeah, we stay cold into next week, but moderate toward the end of it with either near normal temperatures or close to it. But as we extend that out just a little bit further into the we're talking a 10-day outlook here. Look at this cold air. This pink would be below normal temperatures spreading into the eastern half of the United States. And boy, that would mean business if it does. And just how cold, you might ask? Well, let's flip over the trusty European model. And again, I'm showing you what the average has been showing to some degree. Look at this cold coming in the 27th, 28th. As we go into our Wednesday, high temperatures. These are high temperatures, being the 20s in the upstate, the teens in the mountains, and the single digits north of there. That is some serious cold. And then going into Thursday, we'd have low temperatures in the single digits across many areas, sub-zero low temperatures in the mountains. So that would be Thursday the 29th. Again, 10 plus days out there. Just want to put that on your radar as something that we're watching. So questions, comments, what are you thinking? What is on your mind? Again, high interest, low impact seems to be kind of the theme that we're going to be tracking with this system here moving into tomorrow morning. So a lot to track here, a lot to talk about, and I get it. The interest has been high. Those of you that love snow, I've talked to many of you teachers. I've tried to write some of you back. In fact, yesterday there was a mom that wrote in and said her daughter wanted to talk to me about it. I said, hey, let's FaceTime. So I FaceTime with them, and it was just so fun to be able to talk about the models. And I've been that kid. Shoot, I mean, I kind of am still that kid, excited about snow and just trying to tell you what we're seeing. Snow forecasting is never definitive. So it's frustrating to know that some of you are getting information that's it's never going to do it. It's not going to do a thing. That's never true. I mean, even for southern Alabama into Florida, I mean, there has been that chance of snow all along, and never has it been definitively, yes, we're going to get some snow, or it's not going to snow a flake here. That would be absurd to do. That would be irresponsible. And all along, I've been trying to show you the possibilities without promising anything. And guys, if you follow me for any length of period of time, you know that when my confidence goes up, I'm a lot more direct and say, hey, here's what it's going to do and when it's going to do it. I've just never really been able to do that with this system. And trust me, that frustrates me. That's not a meteorologist saying it might not. So you gotta watch that. So here we are. Let me know where you're watching from. I got Dara and Travelers Rest and Hodges. Zachary's watching right now. Hey, to you, Campobello, bubble is strong. Christina, I get it. I get it. All right. So what's your thoughts on what you got to do? You got to do this the snow dance. What is it? You turn your pajamas inside out, put some ice cubes in the toilet. I've heard it all. If you're in Spartanburg, you can expect a cold rain with a few flurries, Warren says. Hi, Warren. Yeah, I mean, it's usually the way it goes, right? So I wouldn't get too excited about this, but it's one that we're going to stay dialed in on. Monk's Corner looking for at least something. Thank you, Chris Justice. You're welcome, Lynn. Thank you for being here. Gene is watching. Hello to you. We got Bradley in the house. The weather guys. Hey, Chris. Hey, team. We better get to see a video of you sledding in this winter. Yeah, this winter. That's the key. I don't think we're sledding tomorrow, but this winter you got it. We still got to get together. You guys let me know. We'll grab some lunch soon. Lawrence, thanks for the update. Saluta's in the house. Hi, Deborah. Where are you guys watching from? Robbins and Gaffney. Hello to you. David's watching right now. Thank you for tuning in. Folks, we will stay on top of this here, but those of you that are just now tuning in, spoon under the pillow. Yeah, I've seen that before. JoJo's watching right now. Hello to you. Ashley's in the house. Brittany's in the house from Boiling Springs. Probably seeing it fly around. You know, if you're up early enough, between 7 and 10 a.m., I think there's that chance of it rolling on through. This is shown here as 7 a.m. Let me kind of map it out for you. There's 8, 9, 10, 11 o'clock would show some snow. Again, you're probably seeing it flying around, and then it's like, oh, that was it? That was it? That's probably it. These things tend to move a little faster than the models predict, so it wouldn't surprise me for this to be in and out, and you're like, wait a minute. That was it? We talked about this for a week, and that was it? But, folks, you got to understand that the implications if a low-pressure system did form off the coast, and that's what some of the early models did have, was potential for this possibly showing a bigger system. But again, high interest, low impact type system here, enough to get you excited. The kiddos are seeing it. They're excited about it. But never has this system been definitively a no or definitively a yes. So that frustrates me that some of you have been led down that path. And my goal has always been to give you the information I have. I get excited to hit refresh. In fact, I think that part of my phone, I think when you're on Safari and it's like right down here at the bottom, I think I was going to break that piece of the glass at some point this week because I hit that button so many times to refresh the models. And I know that I'm excited about it. So my goal is to always to give you those updates, but to do it in a responsible way, because if I just throw out a model without context, you're not a meteorologist. You don't know the ins and outs and pieces of the upper parts of the atmosphere that need to be analyzed to get a good grip on what's going on here. So I always try to give that perspective and information for you so that you can have a forecast that you can kind of hang your hat on. So watching that closely, Stephanie's in North Greenville, driving to Port Canaveral Sunday. What's I-95 going to look like? I think 95 is going to be just fine. I think major interstates are going to be fine. Where you might find some slick spots, maybe off of I-20, off of I-85 and some back roads. South Georgia, to the Midlands, to the Piedmont, I think is the area that we probably could have an overperformance here. A half an inch becomes an inch to 2 inches. But I think the ceiling is kind of capped at this system at somewhere between 1 and 2 inches, maybe an outside 3 inch. But I think that'd be toward the Triad or Charlotte if you did get that. I think most of us are just going to see it flying around, to be honest with you. So when will I update again? Jill, good question. The morning models are crunching right now, and they will be finished midday here, probably 2-ish. So I'll post some more updates there and another video later this evening as we have the full suite of the day's models. And remember, folks, the hurricane hunters are flying around in this today. Now, it sounds like I'm doing a tropical update here for you, but the hurricane hunters are flying around in this and giving us a look at what's going on in the upper parts of the atmosphere to hopefully sample not only the temperature profile better, but also the fact that that we're able to see that dip in the jet stream a little bit better. So that tells you where that moisture swath would be. So again, high interest, low impact. Keep telling yourself that, and you won't be disappointed. Folks, I sure appreciate your trust in these type situations, and I sure appreciate you being here. Know that my team's going to keep you up to date. Bradford will have much more tonight on WYFF News 4 at 6 and 11 o'clock. And then, of course, we'll have much more online. If you don't already, great time to download the WYFF 4 mobile app, a good place to stay up to date and get warnings and push alerts to your phone whenever you need them. And folks, if you're new to this channel, wherever you're watching from right now, good time to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on those notifications so that if I go live again or I do another video like this, you will be informed and know what's going on. So folks,